tomorrow's knockout semi-final. That game at Kipax, you'll see that on Bar TV as well with Jeff Coop in the commentary chair. And my name is Chris Coleman, bringing you all the action from Seaford Oval as Brent Crisp lazily swings the foot through and registers his 62nd goal for the season. At the best and fairest night this week, he had quite a night. Chris picked up the award, the Les McIntyre medal, despite having only played 10 of a possible 18 games. It might be 10 out of a possible 16. 10 of a possible 16 games. He picked up the Les McIntyre medal quite comfortably. He also topped the try scoring and topped the goal kicking during the course of the season. Topped the goal kicking, topped the total number of points, I should say, during the course of the season with 156 points, and he's already added another 6 in the first 5 minutes of the finals. So they're on the charge again, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos, with this early lead. Stephen Dunn, that was. That's the 30-metre line they're on as the kick comes downfield. Awkward bounce, picked up by Jedi Simbican. He loses it forward, and we'll get a whistle, and it'll be a Queanbeyan Blues ball. As we know, it's about the biggest rivalry there is in the Canberra Raiders Cup between the two Queanbeyan sides. They've set the pace all through the course of the season. The Blues went 14-2. They were 14-0. Rested a few players last week. Not sure if they did the same thing the week before, but 14-2. No mean feat. The Queanbeyan Kangaroos went 12-4. 2 of those losses in the last 2 weeks. The other 2 losses against their opponents today. So you can't take much of a form line into this game as you see a penalty. George Stewart was on the run. Campese, interestingly, kicking towards the near touchline. The breeze, when it blows, is actually blowing probably more towards the side of the ground. We're on the grandstand side. And I can tell you it's not bringing much warmth with it. That's Michael Cullen up to the 20. So the Queanbeyan Kangaroos, they were 12-2 going into the last 2 weeks of the season, and they lost their last 2 games as well. So like I said, neither of these sides bringing in much winning form to this major semi-final, but they won't really worry about that. Loser gets the double chance, but they'll want the quick path through to the grand final. Campese, long ball to Nickel. Now it goes to Rudiger. Thomas Rudiger has had a great time playing against the Queanbeyan Kangaroos this year. He scored 3 tries against them, and the fullback who was wrapped up with the ball there, Jake Wheeler, has scored 2 against their opposition today. So certainly plenty of try-scoring ability in the back line. Believe it or not, we found 2 players in that very powerful attack of the Queanbeyan Blues who are yet to cross the stripe. Kyle O'Donnell in the number 10 jersey. You can see him right there in the middle of your screen. Well, Kyle O'Donnell's played 7 games and hasn't scored a try for the Queanbeyan Blues. And Adam Missios in the 14 jersey. He's played in 12 games. Admittedly, a lot of them off the bench, but likewise hasn't scored a try. For the Queanbeyan Kangaroos, there's only one player in that squad today who has not scored a try. That's Jaden Baxter. He's coming in off the bench in jersey 15 a bit later on today. Simbican gets around the outstretched arm of Campese. He makes 10 metres, wrapped up by a couple in the tackle, including, I think that might be Brian Cronin in there. Also Steve Dunn, certainly Steve Dunn. They come across to the left now. Very quick hands. Good ball through from Essex. In the middle of that. Dunn on the run. Cross to the right. Kick comes from Brent Crisp. Bounces pretty awkwardly. In the end, it's Thomas Rudiger running backwards who picks it up. Jake Wheeler was set for it, but it bounced away from him. So, across to the left again, this Queanbeyan Blues side. It's Fainafo. Now it's O'Donnell. From memory, earlier this season, these sides in one of the games they met, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos had a monster lead at half-time, like 16 points, 20-4, and I think they lost 30-20. So you can't really take anything out of the early scoreline in the clashes between these sides. Ben Nickel injecting himself in the game on the runaround play, but the ball goes to ground. This will be a big chance for the Queanbeyan Kangaroos here. They're going to get a scrum feed about 35, maybe 40 metres out. It'll be 40. You can see the red line. Referee standing with 1 foot on it. Now our on-screen clock, I can tell you at the moment, is about 2 minutes behind play. So just bear that in mind. It is a guide only. I'm sure at some stage we'll get a stoppage and things will be able to catch up. Something for you to be aware of. That was Luke Dumas on that play. He's probably instrumental for the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. Where he has a good game, the rest of the side seems to follow. Now it's Wiley. He's lost that. Has he lost that, or is it a strip? What's the referee going to call? The referee calls it a strip, gives a penalty to the Kangaroos. There were two in the tackle. You can see him there saying, I'm calling that a strip. I'm saying that your hand helped it out. Probably right. Certainly my initial reaction was, but from where he was standing, I wasn't sure whether he was going to be able to see it. Now just take the tap, give it to Ayres, one of the big boys on this Queanbeyan Kangaroos side. They're 10 metres out, continuing across to the left. Now through Nageer. Nageer tries for the line. He's about a metre short. Bit of size here might come in handy. You know, they don't need to worry about size. They go underground through Aaron Gorrell, the captain coach. He gets the second try of the game. Okay, now there might be the chance for a little bit of a turn up here. Gorrell with the worm burner. Dives in underground. You see the setup from Nageer. And I'm just not sure how he managed to find a gap there. There just didn't appear to be a gap. Let's have another look at this. You can see Nageer. Now it's Gorrell comes in at dummy half. There's three there, and he just uses the gap made basically by Nageer standing where he's got to play the ball. The bloke can't disappear, so he's got to be somewhere. And you have the try to Aaron Gorrell. 11 minutes gone, 10-0, kick to come. Well, there won't be any panic stations setting in for the men in the blue jerseys just yet. But they will certainly realise that they do probably need to score next. As we see a very easy conversion. I don't know if there's such thing as a difficult conversion in the mind of Brent Crisp. Likewise, Terry Campese, if he gets the chance. Because Campese's kicked a poultice of goals this season. I think he's kicked 72. And maybe it'll come down to goal kicking, although you wouldn't be betting on either of these guys to make a mistake today in their goal kicking roles. We get back into action with the Queanbeyan Kangaroos in possession. They've had the bulk of the ball too. That was Ayres. That was Nageer on that one. Kick downfield. Nobody in front of the posts for the Blues, which means that Wheeler and Stewart have to argue about who gets it or discuss it for a moment. Stewart is who winds up with it. Only gets it back out to the 20. Campese in at dummy half. Centimetre perfect pass to Jake Wheeler. And we've got a whistle. After the ball came free, yet another strip. We've seen more than our fair share of those during the course of the season. Campese, this magnificent kicking game of his. He's taken that kick from just outside the 20 with very little ground to work with, very little angle to work with. He's put it 5 metres into opposition territory. Onto the ball at speed was Michael Cullen. And now they're inside the 40. Ulrich at dummy half, gives it to McInnes. McInnes, one of the big boys, continues to push and continues to push. 25 metres out they are now, across to the right again. And it's O'Donnell. Now 15 away from the line. O'Donnell maybe giving a little bit of a hand to ground. Referee says nothing in it. Ulrich gives the ball across to Nickel, who has to juggle it for a moment. Campese's calling out to the right. They've stacked it to the right. They've got a big overlap here. Campese puts the ball off, but it's been taken and an intercept, and this will be Very interesting to watch. Josh Essex, he's got no one in support. He's brought down inside the opposition 40. Queanbeyan Kangaroos, if they can get up here quickly, they will score. The Blues defence at 6s and 7s. They're coming across to the right through Crisp. Crisp straightens up. He steps around one. He steps around a second and scores adjacent to the posts. His second try for the day. Are we in for a boil over here? The Queanbeyan Kangaroos lead 16-0 after 15 minutes. Rugby league can change in an instant, and this is change in an instant, all right. You can see Campese. I'm trying to see who the target was. It doesn't matter. Essex was the man who got onto it. He'd obviously spotted what I'd spotted, which was the mammoth overlap. Great effort from, I think it's Rudiger making the tackle. It was Rudiger. But as I said, the Blues defence was at 6s and 7s, and it was just a matter of giving it to someone dangerous. And they've got about the most dangerous attacking weapon in the competition, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. Bit of a Muglair somersault on the way through as he plants the ball down, Brent Crisp, but I think he's entitled to. That's his 18th try for the season, his second for the afternoon, and he's given himself a very, very easy conversion attempt. 16 blot, not even 16 minutes on the clock yet. Impressed by Essex and that intercept. I called it in the play leading up to it that Campese, he'd signalled across, he'd signalled several players across to try and stack the short side. And Josh Essex had obviously seen it. He was up like a lightning bolt out of the line. He knew Campese was going to be passing it off to the right. Read it perfectly. Brent Crisp. Very flat, low trajectory kick, but it gets over. He's 3 from 3 with the boot. And the Queanbeyan Kangaroos not just winning the game against the Queanbeyan Blues at the moment, they're winning the game against the clock. It is currently 18-0. Kangaroos over the Blues here at Seaford Oval. You're watching it on Bar TV. Good to have your company this afternoon, wherever you might be watching. That's Essex on the retrieve. You've got to wonder how much it stung the Queanbeyan Kangaroos, having lost 2 games to their crosstown rivals during the course of the season. Now a bit of a high tackle in there. I think Dyer in it. Nuku Nagir gets up. He's okay. Queanbeyan Blues take the penalty. Don't make too many metres out of it. They're still inside their own 40. 36-26 and 24-20. The scores between in the previous affairs between these two. So it was 24-20. That round 11 match, which was 20-4 in favour of the Kangaroos at half time. Just got to wonder how much that stung. Did well to get the ball out there. That's Essex once again. Gee, he's being busy in there. Takes 3 of them to get him to ground. Now on the burst is Asia Taholo. Only scored 1 for the season. He'd love to get his second. Crisp again. Shapes to pass. Captain coach on captain coach. 6 on 6. And Crisp eventually brought to ground. Dumas into dummy half. Kick for the corner comes from Essex. It's a long way up. Ball goes to ground. I fancy off the hands of Francis Fainafo behind him. He recovers it in about the last square metre of territory over in that far corner of the field. They can't do much here other than work it out slowly, the Roos. They had Wheeler. And then it was Stewart. And they're across, you see Campese in shot there, but unable to inject himself into the play. Tyler Stevens was the man with the ball. Finally, one of their forwards gets a crack at it, but that's the 4th tackle, I'd suspect, even the 5th tackle. There we go, they've made what? 25 metres. Kick comes down into vacant territory. That's Dumas. Now Simbican, Jedi Simbican, try-scoring machine as well. He scored 15 for the season. Oh, you can put down your glasses because he's about to score his 16th. He won't need the support on his outside. And the Queanbeyan Kangaroos continue to give both the Blues and the Clock a flogging. They go out to 22-0. And we're only 19 minutes gone. Another try to Jedi Simbican. By my reckoning, that's his 16th for the season. Watch this. Comes down. Dumas gets it. Realises that he's got the fleet of foot Jed Simbican standing there. Simbican starts inside his own 30, goes across a little bit, and then, well, it is a well and truly overused cliche, like a hot knife through butter, but on that occasion, Jed Simbican and a hot knife through butter bearing startling similarities to each other. 22 blot. Kick to come. I think the first thing the Queanbeyan Blues need to do, this afternoon is actually get some possession. Because right now, they are really, fair income, struggling. So effectively a 70-metre kick return for a try. And Crisp puts a bit more altitude there. Gets another conversion. 4 from 4 for him today. 24-0. 21 minutes gone on the clock. This is now very much unfamiliar territory for the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. Campisi's kickoff bounces around a little bit in the in-goal area. No one really keen to get things started. Eventually it was Steve Dunn who took it up. Is that Dumas? Or is it the other winger? It's Aroha Queanbeyan. Campisi leading from the front, comes in, makes a tackle and makes it hurt on Troy Wiley. Now it's Stephen Dunn bringing it forward for the Kangaroos, nominally the visiting side this afternoon. Across to the left through Crisp and onto Ayres. Ayres picked up, gets the ball away, back to Crisp. Crisp puts it down behind him. Essex picks it up, brought to ground by Francis Fainafo, but there's a little knock on in there, I think, says the referee. Yes, little knock on. And we'll bring it back to a scrum on halfway. So how long since the Blues have had possession? Well, actually not that long, I suppose. They kicked it away. A 70-metre kick return, resulting in a try. Kangaroos still beating the clock at the moment. 23 minutes gone. They've got 24 points on the board, but it's the Blues with the ball into attacking territory. Across to the left with Nasri Nasri. Haven't seen much of him today. That might be the first time I've called him all day. Ulrich. Nagata off the bench. Pushes off a man in a tackle. They really need to start at least showing some physical presence. Got plenty of time left, and we've seen them score a lot of points so far this season. Wheel is one of the players who's capable of doing it for them. He's got 5 tries for the year. And on this occasion, Baker, jinking and jiving, makes it up to the 10, or just short of. Referee says the last tackle, Campisi has to reach for that ball. Long ball from him, another long ball, and oh no, more trouble here. As Aroha Queanbeyan does well in the end just to hang on to it. They give it to Jedi Simbican again. Had support on his outside. Couldn't quite get the ball away, had been wrapped up, bouncing around in the tackle. Connolly in there, it is. And they're across to the left. Taholo getting involved in the play. Haven't seen much of him today. They haven't needed him much today. And it's through hands to Cronin. Cronin, no look pass to the outside to Mitchell Connolly. It might have been a no look pass, but it's going to be a 4-pointer. And just as the game clock was catching up with the scoreboard for the Kangaroos, they add another 4 onto it to keep the race against time. On my mark, it's 24 and a half minutes gone, 28-0. I will defy anyone who is watching this game to say they expected this. You can see Ayres gets the ball away, finds Cronin. Cronin, he must have just heard the call. There is no way in the world he could have seen Connolly there. That's just not possible. He could not have seen Mitchell Connolly on his outside. Have a look. See what you reckon. Ayres gives it to Connolly. It's this pass here. He just runs and runs. He might have stolen a glance 2 steps earlier, but he certainly passed it without looking at the destination. These guys know each other's game almost inside out. Who would have thought we'd see the Queanbeyan Kangaroos score 5 unanswered tries in less than half an hour against the Queanbeyan Blues? I know the Kangaroos have made numerous changes since last week. I'll run through those in a second. The conversion, again, not exactly hard. Brent Crisp has 5 goals for the day. So from last week's side for the Queanbeyan Kangaroos that went down against West Belconnen 30-10. Here are the changes. Jedi Simbican comes back into the side. He scored 15 tries for the year. Brian Cronin's back in. He scored 2. Brent Crisp comes back in. He scored 16. Aaron Gorrell back in from suspension. He scored 2 tries for the season. Troy Wiley, who scored 7, comes back in. Jesse Dent, who scored 6, and Logan Spander scores 6. And I don't think we've seen Dent or Spander out there yet because they're both on the bench. 7 changes from last week's squad of 17 for the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. And so far, certainly paying dividends for them. Spinning around there was Taholo, gets the ball away. Essex, is it? No, it's actually Jaden Baxter. There you go. Crisp with another kick across field. Now, it's taken by Stewart. What can the Blues do? They need to get some points on the board before half-time, you would imagine. Stewart, there's nobody for him to give the ball to. Campese comes back, runs back in. Gives it to Tyler Stevens. It took an age for the Queanbeyan Blues to get back on side. Campese hands off to Wheeler. Wheeler outside the 40. Ulrich comes into dummy half. Big push off from Elijah Nagata. That could have been a little bit forward. Hasn't been called it. They keep playing. Trying to always go themselves up. Campese onto Cullen. Cullen finds the 30-metre stripe. Referee says 5 and last. And he's lost the ball on the ground and lost it forward. Jeez. He's not happy there. Cullen's thrown the ball away at Troy Wiley. Troy Wiley's just had a laugh. I wonder whether the old line, take a look at the scoreboard, was uttered out there. 11 minutes and 41 seconds remaining on the scoreboard clock as the referee signals time off. Now watch this. As Cullen comes in, there's 2 in the tackle in there. We can't see anything that helps him lose the ball. But wait for a second here as he is obviously not happy. And I don't think Josh Baker cared 1 iota. Back to live action off the back of the scrum from the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. And a bit of spine shown in defence there by a couple of the Blues players. Nasri in particular getting involved, along with Elijah Nagata, to execute a bit more of a powerful tackle. But gee, is it shut the gate? The horses bolted. 30-0. Not even half an hour gone. Amazing stuff. That was Spears. Now it's O'Donnell. O'Donnell 45 away from the line. I think is our first look at Jesse Dent for the afternoon with his headgear on. Towering bomb. He was onside, was a Jedi Simbrican. The tap back from him was okay. It was then lost forward. Being on the last tackle, no scrum, just a handover. So they play the ball from Stewart back to Campese and they give it to Wheeler. Out to his own 20. I'm not going to say that the Roos can put the Q in the rack just yet, but gee, they don't have to do much more today. They've just got to defend now. It's the Blues who've got to take the chances. Nagata. And they kick to the corner. This back three that the Queanbeyan Kangaroos have of Jedi Simbrican, Tolo Aroha, Tuinavai and Luke Dumas. They are all capable of great speed out of defence. Now it's Dent. Still going Dent. Just to the right, up to the halfway line they go. It's Aroha, Tuinavai. Remember the prize on offer today as we see Logan Spander just try to dive under the tackle, goes to ground. Prize on offer today is the first spot in the grand final in a fortnight's time. Jake Wheeler. Did well to hang on to that. Takes it in his own 20. Well, the clock's finally got in front of the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. They've led it since the 3-minute mark of the game when they scored their first try. And we're up to 31 minutes gone and it's 30-0. So there is one thing that so far today has shown that it can occasionally beat the Kangaroos. Jake Wheeler up to the 35 metres. They just don't look like breaking the line at the moment. Nasri. He's lost the ball in there. Referee says there was given a helping hand to get out. So a chance for the Queanbeyan Blues to get deep into attack. The touch finder from Campese does its job right on the junction of the 30-metre line and the touch line. Rudiger gives it to Baker. Baker charges up towards the 20. Come across to the left again. Now it's through Stein. Jake Stein, in just his second year of playing rugby league. In a semi-final, Campese through hands, they get it to Stevens. Stevens onto Stewart. George Stewart dives for the corner and scores. The Blues pull one back. The old line from Confucius is that the 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. Well, coming from 30 points down, you have to start it with a single try, and that's what they've done. The Blues pull one back, 33 minutes gone. It's 30-4. Now this is just a classic backline try, isn't it? 6 to 1 to 3 to 2 to try. Just a classic backline move, nothing special about it, nothing that you're going to write home about, but hey, it's a try for George Stewart to narrow the gap to, at this stage, 26 points. And they've still got time to get another one back. If they can get another one back before half-time, bearing in mind that the Kangaroos did give up a big lead against the Blues earlier in the season. Does it sow the seed of doubt? Don't know. They've got to try something. Campese comes through from the shade of the grandstand with one that curves to the left and continues curving and curves to the outside of the post, so not converted. And it's 30-4. Official game clock says 6 minutes and 17 seconds left with 26 points the difference before half-time. The Blues will get one, maybe two more shots to score before half-time. They should get 2 sets, you'd think, maybe even a third if they're a bit lucky. I think the Roos may do their best just to slow things down a little bit and put even more pressure on, because the pressure of time will start to tell. Campese Gives the ball across. Oh, this is the danger we've seen from the Blues most of the season. Stewart, still going Stewart. Up over the halfway line. Now Campese into dummy half. He runs it himself. Who's he give it to? He gives it to his halfback in Nickel. That's what you got to do. I said they've got time. They'd be looking maybe score 2 in this short period before half time. That's Jake Stein. Approaching the 20. Misios into dummy half. Across through Nickel. Then to Rudiger. Inside the 20. I think that's the 4th. They're taking a long time before letting him get up. He eventually crabs forward by another metre or 2. Campese. Offloads to Cullen. Cullen inside the 10. Last tackle called. They're going to go to the right. If Campese's hand gestures are to be believed. Misios to Campese. Finds Nickel. Nickel puts the kick across field. It's over into the corner. It goes dead in goal. I think we'll come back out to the 20. Into the last 5 minutes of the first half. I can't do the mental arithmetic on the fly to tell you what the clock's going to finish at. 4.5 minutes from now, so what that's going to be, 38 minutes. So we're about 2 minutes behind on our screen clock. Jesse Dent brings the ball out for the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. They will take their time here, you would imagine. I can't see them doing anything foolish. Ayres or Dunn. Dunn, either way, they lose the ball, but it's been called a strip. Now they really can take their time. Crisp with the touch finder. Gee, this is a beautiful ground. I love watching footy at Seaford Oval. It brings back so many memories. What was it, 82 to 89, I think the Raiders played here. So many great memories. Spears didn't have the best of grips on that, but managed to hold on to it. Not Spears, Baxter rather. That's Nagira, I think, at the bottom of the pile. It is. Now it's done. Juggle from Baxter. Hangs on to it, goes to ground. Across to the right they come again. It's with Crisp. Crisp gives it off to Wiley. Wiley at the 20. Spander comes into dummy half. Again to Crisp. Quick ball. Dumas was there, but he didn't get to it. So come across to the right, Crisp. Little grubber kick goes through. And staying just in the field of play, that's Brandon Spears. Campese has to get in and almost play a dummy half from side on because of the goalpost. Gives it to Wheeler. Wheeler doesn't look terribly comfortable there at the moment. Just keep an eye on him in back play. And Rudiger, being so quick, able to get an offside penalty drawn. And the ball's been kicked away, but referee says, I want you to take the penalty kick again. So Campese does, and probably makes an extra 5 or 10 metres on top of that, although I reckon he probably would have rather had the extra 20 seconds on the clock. So the Blues, this will probably be their last set, maybe one more. Baxter, up to the 40, really depends what the Kangaroos do at the end of their next possession. Asri. Comes to the left through Nickel, Campese. On ball finds Stevens. Stevens puts a kick in, trying to chase Stewart. Stewart gets to it just after Jedi Simbican. Coming back for... Okay, not sure why we're coming back for a scrum. A forward pass in there? No? Okay, well, we've got a scrum to the... Was he in touch? Did his foot go into touch? Maybe his foot went into touch in the tackle. I was looking upfield to see what was coming up, and then suddenly I look back up and there's a scrum being packed. Okay, Rudiger feeds the scrum. Campese takes it off the back of the scrum. They've got a minute here. They won't need a minute. Spears looking for the line. You can see the stripe. He's about a metre short. Misios at dummy half. Gives it to Campese. Campese, long ball finds Nickel. Nickel to Rudiger. They'll come back to the left once again with Nickel. Now to Nazari. Nazari, 35 seconds remaining. And they don't get off him. Well, this will guarantee that the Blues will have the last possession. Nickel, Campese, long ball, finds Stevens. Stevens looks for the gap, can't get around a Roja to an Avai. It's just short of the line and held up. As he bounces over, he wants the ball back. 12 seconds remaining. They'll get maybe 2 plays. Bit of byplay going on here. He's saying, getting back to the 10, sir. Misios at dummy half. Campese, and we're going to go again. 9 seconds, 8 seconds. We'll get one play there. One play now, you would imagine. We might not even get that. Oh, no, he's called time off, so we will get one more play. Campese, can he find some magic in the dying seconds, literally the dying seconds of the half? Spears, can't go anywhere. Siren any second now. There it is there. Nazari, he's wrapped up in the tackle and he can't do anything with it. And at half-time, possibly the most surprising scoreline in the Canberra Raiders Cup all season. We have the Queanbeyan Kangaroos 30 leading the Queanbeyan Blues 4. John Kreuter from the Canberra Raiders Cup. I would defy you to find anyone on the ground who would have picked this as the half-time score.
No, I certainly wouldn't have tipped that as the half-time score. I'm not surprised that the Roos are in the lead. Last time we saw them play, they did have a big half-time lead, and that was against a full-strength Blues side, and that was without Brent Crisp. So I'm not surprised to see them in the lead, but the manner in which they've done it has been outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. They were beating the clock for most of that first half. They scored the first try at the 3-minute mark, then went in again at the 11th, the 15th, the 19th, and the 25th. And after 25 minutes, they were 30-0 up. I won't say that the Queanbeyan Blues have played badly. It's just that the Roos, everything they have done today, certainly for the first half hour, has stuck.
Well, they showed a lot of energy, but I think the Blues would be pretty disappointed. You say they didn't play badly, but their line speed was lacking. They just looked lethargic. They just something wasn't quite right. So the Roos have just taken full advantage of that, and they're good value for their lead. Obviously, Brent Crisp with a couple of good tries. Mitch Connolly had a good long-range try there as well. The big one, though, for me was Aaron Gorrell's try. The Blues weren't paying attention, left a huge gap, and that's a very soft try to concede.
Yeah, it was a really easy try for the Kangaroos to score. Let's just go back to that last time these sides played. You mentioned that it was a come-from-behind win for the Blues over the Kangaroos last time. It was 2010 at half-time. 2010 is a whole world of difference from 30-4. But having said that, just in that last 10 minutes, once the Queanbeyan Blues took the pumpkins off their shoulders and replaced them with their heads, they've actually started to play some better footy in that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, they've played some pretty good footy, and George Stewart scored a really nice try, but also just a few good runs, just getting through a high work rate. And he's probably only in this team because Brendan Tawaki's injured, but he's arguably been their best player, even though he scored the try. His general work rate's been quite impressive.
Now, we know that both of these sides, Queanbeyan Kangaroos and Queanbeyan Blues, last week were able to rest some players. But I do want to ask, what do you think about, and the comment was made, that losing can become habit forming. The comment was made during the week. I think it was Aaron Gorrell who said that during the course of the week. Is it possible that the Blues just have got a little bit out of the football mindset with their loss last week up against Tuggeranong, 42-14, a very fired up Tuggeranong side too, from what I've heard about that game. But also going down in arguably the game of the season, a game where it's probably the only time they've really been pushed all year was that game 2 weeks ago, where the West Belconnen Warriors were in a must-win situation, came from behind and got up to win 31-28 there. Do you think maybe, just maybe, that actually going 14-0 to start the season turns out to be a bad thing for them?
Well, the good thing is that they're losing now when they've got a second chance. So if they didn't get the wake-up call last week, they've certainly got it now. And I think Cambo's got a very interesting half-time speech to have. With Gorrell's comment about losing becomes a habit, you've got to laugh at that a little bit, because his side had also lost 2 games. So obviously just playing a little bit of mind games there. But you look at the two things, they made the exact same call, resting a few players. It's worked for one team, hasn't worked for the other.
Indeed, indeed. So let's run through the scoring in the first half and just recap there. As we did have a small technical problem at the start, but you joined us just in time to see that first try of the day. Great try from Brent Crisp there, scoring in less than 4 minutes to get in. You mentioned the Aaron Gorrell try where he just dived over from dummy half, and I've watched the replay on that 3 times, and I still can't work out how he managed to find the gap. It was just a case of following through. Who was in front of him? Was it Nagia who'd taken the ball up? I think it was. Whoever it was who'd taken the ball up and taken the tackle. Obviously can't disappear, and very smart play from Gorrell to charge through and realise that perhaps the Blues were looking for the pass from dummy half. The Brent Crisp try after the intercept from Josh Essex, that's one of those things that just happens. But again, Essex had read the play well. Campese was directing a lot of players over to the short side. He was trying to stack the blind, and Josh Essex had read it, saw the ball coming from Campese almost before Campese had thrown it, got onto it and offloaded to Crisp. And again, he's hard to stop once he gets started. The Jedi Simbican try again. That was really poor defence from the Queanbeyan Blues. I think that was possibly the one that they really should have stopped, because while he's quick, he did run across field for about 10 metres, and I think he got past 3 guys there who didn't really commit to an early tackle in there, so that was a little disappointing. And the party trick of the day, the Brian Cronin no-look pass to Mitch Connolly about 25 metres out on his outside for Connolly to run around and put it down, not just to put it down, but to run in from the wing and put it down under the posts. You've just got to wonder at that point, were the Blues just feeling a little bit dispirited? We're going to take a short break here, John, unless you've got anything else to throw in. No, John's done for this afternoon. We might catch up with him at full-time. John Croyder from the Canberra Raiders Cup. We'll take a short break here. It's half-time. It's the Queanbeyan Kangaroos 30, the Queanbeyan Blues 4. Well, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos are very, very keen to finish what they've started. They're already back out after what I reckon would be one of the shortest halftime breaks I've seen this season. I suspect the comments from Aaron Gorrell would have been, well, fellas, we've done what we wanted to do for the first 40 minutes. Let's go out and do what we do at exactly the same for the next 40. Terry Campese for the Queanbeyan Blues, obviously having a little bit more of a conversation with his troops. Still deep in the bowels of Seaford Oval here in Queanbeyan. If you have just joined us, that is the correct score, 30 points to 4 in favour of the Queanbeyan Kangaroos over the Queanbeyan Blues. Not terribly surprising that the Roos are leading. However, I would say terribly surprising the margin and the way they've done it. Crisp's try wasn't anything super special. It was just a regulation try, but Gorrell, it was a fairly soft try. Brent Crisp's second try was much better with the intercept by Essex, setting him up. Simbican's was spectacular. Connolly's was also well worth watching. And we're 40 minutes away from knowing the first of the grand finalists in the Austbrokers Canberra Raiders Cup for 2017. And it's the Kangaroos with possession. If you haven't watched before, the Blues obviously in the blue, the Kangaroos in the maroon, white and black with the white numbers on their back. So they bring it out again for their own line, and the Blues getting up just a little bit too quickly. Steve Dunn had the ball, but able to charge back. That's not a bad kick from Crisp. That's a monster kick. He's got it down almost to the 20. So Cronin with the tap gives it to Nagir. Nagir bounces out of one, bounces out of a second. Brought to ground. Spander's come into dummy half. Runs it from there. Loses the ball for a moment in there for mine. And it's called a knock on. Now the referee actually had to ask his touch judge, assistant referee, for some assistance on the call. And it'll be a scrum to the Queanbeyan Blues. Let's just see what happens with Spander as he goes in. And he's passed it back into the chest of Essex. I don't think Essex even saw the pass. Let's have another look. The pass is in there. I don't think Essex has even seen that. So it's actually a knock-on from Essex. Gee, that'd be hard. If there was fancy football points up for grabs, it'd be filthy. Anyway, there isn't. Campese, as they go across to the left, gives it to Tyler Stevens. Outside their own 20. And now Elijah Nagata. They continue across to the right. Thomas Rudiger to the 40-metre line. And now Nazari makes it to halfway. And that's the last tackle of this set. Campese will get it. He'll kick it just inside the attacking territory. Looks to his own regather. It's in the end, it's bounced around a little bit. Misios has got it. He goes out wide. Finds Stevens. Are we still on the last? I think there must have been a touch from a Kangaroos player in there, because Stevens wasn't looking to kick. He's 8 metres out from the line. Well, this is the start to the half that the Queanbeyan Blues wanted. Campese has multiple options. Puts it behind Nickel. It goes to ground. Eventually it's picked up by Rudiger. He's outside the 30 now. They don't need to panic. They've got plenty more tackles on this set. Wheeler. Spears. He's at the 20. And Nagata still going. They're back where they started this most recent set of 6. About 7 out. Better position directly in front of the post. Great change of direction from Misios. He reaches for the line. Can he get the ball down? No, he can't. He's short of the line. The goalpost may have impeded him as well. Wouldn't have been a bad time to get his first try for the Blues this season. Instead it goes from Campese to Cullen. Short of the line. Just short. Last tackle called. If the Blues can't score, they do need to do something else with it. It goes off the ground, picked up by Stewart. He flirts with the touchline, but I think he's got the ball down. The referee and the touch judge consult. And going from the tooting of horns, he may have actually got the try scored in the corner. Plenty of people tooting horns. No celebration from this Queanbeyan Blues side. And I tell you, ugly but effective is about all you can say there. That really wasn't the best of passes from Campese. Although, again, you've got to wonder, if the pass was straight into the breadbasket of Stewart, would Jedi Simbican have actually tried to get a hand on it as it went past him underneath? Just watch this. It's a low ball. Simbican reaches down to try and stop it on the ground. And that actually probably gives Stewart the chance to just get around him and score the try. So ugly but effective, 30 points to 8. 4 minutes gone. If the Blues win this, it will truly be a great case of getting out of jail. But after conceding the first 5 tries, they've pulled 2 back. Campese, usually reliable with the boot. He's kicked 72 goals for the season. He's missed with both of them. George Stewart's had a day to remember, but that's about it for the Queanbeyan Blues at the moment. I'm struggling to think of players who've had a good game for them so far. Well, what can they do on this set? Fainafo, who fielded it, gave it to Stein. As I mentioned before, it's his second year playing rugby league. Jake Stein. He came across from soccer. And he's playing in a grand final qualifier. Welcome to the code, hey? Ben Nicol over to Campese. Holds it for a moment. Gives it to, was it Tyler Stevens? It was. Right over on the far side, nearly into touch. Manages to keep his turf. Stewart, he's got 2 today. Can he get the hat-trick? Maybe he will. Nagata, Elijah Nagata, out the back door to Nicol. Nicol finds Spears. Last tackle, the call from the ref. Campese snakes forward another 10 metres, puts it a long way up. Jed Simbican tries to take it. He can't take it. Jake Wheeler gets the ball, goes to the ground, scores the try. 3 in a row for the Blues, 30 points to 12. Oh, you got to love this game. You've really got to love this game. See, 5 tries in a row, and you might be forgiven for thinking under ordinary circumstances that it's done and dusted. But watch this. It's bobbled around a little bit in the breeze up high. I think Simbican may have even got a hand on it and knocked it on into Wheeler. It really did wobble around up in the air. Simbican comes in. No, I don't know whether he did get a hand in it. I think in the end it was just Wheeler going higher. I'll try and pick it one more time. See Wheeler running in. He's got his eyes on the ball, nothing but the ball. And yeah, it just gets higher than Simbican. So I won't mark Simbican down for that. Now, can Campese... Well, this one's the easiest converged attempt he's had all day. It's not really an easy one either. Back in his Raiders days, these were his bread and butter. And the flags are raised by Terry Campese for the first time today. The whistle blows. And it's 30 points to 14. First converted try of the day for the Blues. And at 30 to 14, having led 30-0, you've got to start to wonder, will it play with the minds of the Queanbeyan Kangaroos? Will they be starting to remember the lead that they let slip earlier in the season? Ooh. And I did say late in the first half that the Blues needed to get some possession. Have the Kangaroos touched the ball in attack in this half yet? They must have. Just don't remember them doing a great deal with it. Certainly the possession, the weight of possession overwhelmingly to the Blues side. Nicol, Campese still going. Floating pass over to the far side, finds Stevens, and Stevens puts the foot to the floor, spins out of one, brought down in the second tackle just on the shade of halfway. Campese into dummy half, looking for someone, finds Cullen. Cullen was going at speed, but he was wrapped up fairly quickly. Campese again, he's just injecting himself into the play more and more. Again, long ball finds Spears. Spears with a longish ball to Fainafo. Fainafo can't get a hold of it, goes to ground. Picked up by Tolo Aroha Twinavai, who then loses it behind him. It's not actually Twinavai, it's Cronin, apologies. So it'll be a knock on. Long ball, you can see it from Campese. And then Spears just a little bit behind Fainafo. Always a difficult one to grab when they're behind you and you're running full tilt. So the Roos, they finally get a bit of possession. Cronin, after the scrum, takes it up outside 40. And now taking it to halfway is Stephen Dunn. Got a whistle in there. Maybe just getting him back out of the way, player with a bit of blood on him perhaps. Tended to by the trainer, and play continues. Woods. Might have lost it for a second in there, but didn't get spotted by anybody. Spander in at dummy half, takes the ball up to the 30. Jesse Dent. Go across to the right, find Crisp. Crisp with a kick to the corner. There's nobody home. It's a very, very deep kick. It might need one more bounce to go in the Blues' favour. It does. There was a whole army of Kangaroos players there. A couple of Blues players who were in the in-goal area must have heard the footsteps. It showed courage not to touch the ball and get it back to their own 20. Stewart takes the tap, gets it to the 30-metre line. Now it's Nagata. As we see Campese getting himself involved again. Cullen had momentum, lost the ball, picked up by Aroha Twinavai. The turnovers will kill you. Still plenty of time left in this game. We've got 29 minutes remaining by mine. And now it's only a 16-point margin. But the Blues will need to, I suspect, hold the Kangaroos scoreless to keep themselves alive. Woods to the 20-metre line. Spander at dummy half. Flat ball to Dunn. Dunn back on the inside to Dent. Dent back to Spander, so we're going around and around in circles. Dent in at dummy half. Across to the right, gives it to Crisp. Crisp finds Aroha Twinavai. Twinavai gets it to Simbican. Has Simbican scored in the corner? I think he has. By the way he's celebrating, he has. The referee agrees with that assessment. Jedi Simbican, 17 tries for the season. And 2 for the afternoon, and the gap stretches back out again in favour of the Kangaroos. Got to commit to the tackles, and I don't know whether anybody did. Well, Stevens certainly did, but nobody came around to commit to the defensive line, so it's not so much committing to the tackles as committing to the defence. You can see Stevens. Well, Stevens, there he is there. He does what he can. He slows up to Twinavai eventually. And Stewart was coming across, but too little, too late, trying the corner. 34 points to 14, kick still to come. Did I say the turnovers will kill you? I think I might have. So it's been 5 in a row to the Kangaroos, 3 in a row to the Blues. Now 1 to the Kangaroos. The wind starting to pick up a bit. If anything, it is favouring the Kangaroos. Not that they've had to really worry about the wind today. They were going into the wind in the first half. And she's a robot. Here's a machine. And he's 6 from 6 today. coming into today for the regular season, he'd scored 16 tries and kicked 61 goals, make it now 18 tries and 67 goals for the season. He's approaching 200. In fact, he's passed the 200-point mark for the season this afternoon. So he was 186 coming in, 194 plus 12 is 206. So there you go. That's a fairly healthy haul in anyone's language, especially in a relatively short season like we have here in the Canberra Raiders Cup. Just 16 games, and then bear in mind that Chris missed 6 of them, so he's only played 11 games and he's racked up 200 points. No real surprise he won the Les McIntyre medal during the course of the week, is it? And they're on the attack again, already up to halfway. And there's that man, Crisp. Almost loses his head in a high tackle. Managed to duck under it a bit. Was it Cullen who executed the tackle there? I think it might have been. Crisp will find touch. About 20 out. Oh, he's used the wind. Make it 15. The Blues need to get the ball out from this end of the park. Bit of juggle and bobble there. Aidan Woods up to the 20-metre line. Who's on the attack again through Dent. Dent takes it to the 10. It's Woods. A couple of quick passes. Into the hands of Cronin. Cronin looking for the line. He's a metre short. Not sure who gave it to Cronin there, but it was a good ball. Damas in at dummy half and now lost forward. So it's been picked up by Jake Wheeler. Wheeler gets the ball back into the field of play, but there's no real advantage. So we'll come back for the scrum. 22 points the difference. 26 minutes remaining, 24 minutes remaining, I should say. We did see the Kangaroos outscore the clock for largely the first 30 minutes of the game, so we know it can be done, but it's just a lot harder to do it when you're coming from behind. Fainafo. Outside the 10, Campese in at dummy half again. Gives it to Stevens. Really relying on the same numbers, similar players time and time again, the Blues. As Roos' side, their defence today has been very, very good. They'll shut down the play if it gets predictable. So that was Stewart. Campese again at dummy half. They really need to get a forward or two involved in coming at pace. McInnes was there, but he wasn't coming at pace. Now, this man coming at pace is Nagata. Has to slow down for a second because the ball bubbles on his chest. Hangs on to it. They're on the halfway line, but it's the last tackle. Campese, Nickel kicks for the corner. Who's underneath it? Connolly. It is, who takes it. There was 3 of them there. They could have run a chook raffle. It was in the air for a very long time. Outside the 20. Damas. Brought to ground inside his own 30. Making ground is not really a huge priority, I don't think, for the Kangaroos. Hanging onto the ball certainly is. Done. Still going. They're wrapped up just inside halfway. Spander in a dummy half. He's had a pretty good game since he came in. Now it's with Aroha Twinavai. He's just outside the 40. Come across to the left with Crisp again. Low trajectory kick. Picked up off the ground by Wheeler. He gets a good bounce. Can't get past even the first tackle, though. He's wrapped up by Brian Cronin. So the long haul begins once again for the Blues. Misios was in there somewhere. That was Nickel, taking it up outside the 20. Rudiger, haven't called him much this half. Now they're across to the left through Nickel. Long ball behind him to McInnes. McInnes gets a little bit of momentum, gets up to the halfway line, but again, they're on the 50, and the last tackle is called. Campese with the kick, looking to find touch, and does so. All that's going to do is slow things down a little bit. 21 and a half remaining. 22 points the difference. So now the equation starts to slip very much in favour of the Kangaroos. 22 points. So it's 4 converted tries required. At least 4 converted tries required for the Queanbeyan Blues to get ahead. If they miss one of the conversions, we could go to extra time. That's always fun in finals football, isn't it? Reminder that the other semi-final, the minor semi-final tomorrow between Yass and Tuggeranong, taking place at Raiders at Kipax. And that should be a cracker. It'll get to you live on Bar TV. Jeff Coop will be doing the commentary tomorrow afternoon. 2 o'clock the kickoff. No, 3 o'clock the kickoff in that game tomorrow. The Blues slowing the play down. Spander in at dummy half. Gives the ball to Woods. Woods takes it forward. Now it's Spander. Essex with the kick through. There's nobody there. Oh dear. Oh dear. And I think we can start to talk about the Queanbeyan Kangaroos being the first side into the grand final, because that was just awful from a Queanbeyan Blues perspective. That was just really, really terrible defence. And I hate to say stuff like this when I'm calling footy, but I have questions about accountability there. Just watch this. Spander comes through. That's Essex with a really nothing kick, and there's nobody back, and getting onto it is Brian Cronin. He set up a try earlier in the game, and Wheeler had come up out of the line. That's the problem. There was nobody at home to defend. Wheeler probably had to come up out of the line. But, gee, it just looked ugly. Putting on a Queanbeyan Kangaroos hat, I suppose it's a thing of great beauty to take yourself out back to a 26-point lead. That's what they had at half-time. They surrendered a couple of tries in the first 10 minutes after the break, but thereafter it really has all been the men in the maroon, white and black. Brent Crisp has 6 from 6 today. You can't really imagine him missing this either. You've got the best seat in the house here on Bar TV for this one. You'll see it on the wide shot in a minute, but you can tell there you're right behind it. You don't want to be anywhere else, do you? Best seat in the house. Let's watch this one from Brent Crisp. You can see what effect the wind is having. It really pushed it around once he kicked it. But Crispy, 6 from 6 today. He's got the radar working, and make it 7 from 7 this afternoon with the boot. Throw in 2 tries. He's been influential all over the park. He picked up the Les McIntyre medal during the course of the week. He really is having a few very good days. $42 points to 14, so the biggest lead for the day was 30 points. That was about 25 minutes gone. It's back out to a 28-point margin. And with 18 minutes remaining, you've got to start to wonder how the Blues start to think about regathering for next week. It would be truly bizarre if they lost next week, having gone 14 straight to start the season, to then bow out on 4 successive losses. That would be, well, if they were a racehorse, you'd have them swabbed, wouldn't you? That was a good run from Josh Ayres. A bit of confusion in there. A couple of players waiting for the whistle, but it didn't come. Now it's with Dunn. Trying to steal the ball from him is Kyle O'Donnell. Dunn has too good a grip on it. This game just starting to slow down. I just wonder whether the Blues have decided they can't win this now. Crisp with the kick again into the corner. This will bounce and into touch. Now they're calling for a 40-20 here. Calling for a 40-20. It's not going to be one. The referee's sitting there at the 10-metre stripe. Let's just have a look at this. See where the kick comes from. I think it's outside. Oh, no. He's inside. They're justified in calling for that. I just don't know where it went into touch. That's the next question. Did it go into touch inside or in the field of play or outside? That was a bit harder to tell because that post was obscured by an additional view. Anyway, it's a feed to the Queanbeyan Blues. They'll probably take that. They haven't had a lot go their way. Thomas Rudiger, the man trying to bring it out. He gets it to the 20. They come across to the left. Tyler O'Donnell has milked the penalty. He's managed to actually get one there. Chris puts his hands up and says, "What for, sir?" Gets a little push away from O'Donnell. And now it's Campese. Campese with the touch finder. Puts it into the breeze. Out to the 40-metre line. Touch judge is standing there. We'll walk it forward. And finally the Blues go with it through Cullen. Cullen pushes towards the 30-metre mark. Now it's O'Donnell. O'Donnell still going. Campese waits. Gets the ball. Turns it around to the left. Changing the point of attack through Cullen. He's been involved a couple of times already in this set. That's the 30-metre line. You can see him on there. So the 20-metre line, you can see him on there. Baker. Josh Baker. Looks, thinks. Can't offload. Missios, Campese finds Nickel. Nickel back on the inside to the big man in McInnes. McInnes, had he taken a step to his left, there was space. Instead, he straightened up and was wrapped up very quickly. Missios at dummy half. Campese puts a kick across field. Waiting underneath it is Fainafo. It goes to ground. It doesn't get picked up by him, but has been put down on the ground by Rudiger. But I think... No, he's called it a try. There you go. Referee was asking a question as he was running in of the touch judge. The touch judge has said no, all fair and above board. So let's check this out from Campese. Long ball, waiting there was Fainafo and Dumas. We'll just see this again. So it goes in the air. Well, there's a referee and a touch judge. The call is knocked back or knocked on by, either knocked on by Dumas or knocked back by Rudiger. Must have been knocked back. Sorry, knocked back by Fainafo and picked up by Rudiger. Rudiger gets the try. May well prove to be nothing but academic, but it does give Thomas Rudiger his 15th try for the season. Score comes to 18. Campese, well, he hasn't had his kicking boots on today. He's 1 from 4. When was the last time you saw Terry Campese go 1 from 4? So it's 42-18. With 14 minutes to go. I really can't see any way that this game's going to go any differently than to being a Queanbeyan Kangaroos win. Diving for it there was Ben Nickel. So the kick-off, well, when it's not your day, it's not your day. The kick-off was to a gap. You'll see it here. Crisp comes in, kicks off. He spotted the gap. It's a low, flat kick. Nickel suddenly realises that somebody's got to get a hand on it, and nobody gets a hand on it. Ball goes dead, and now, having spent the last 15 seconds with no ball out there on the field, we now have 2. Buy in bulk, it's cheaper. Now we're back to 1. Line dropout comes from Campese. He tries for the 10-metre trick. And actually manages to do it. Well taken by Wheeler. Inch perfect kick, Baker. They're out to the 20. And the Blues have defused that debacle. Wheeler again, up to his own 30-metre line. That's the third. Across to the right through Campese. Now to McInnes. And it's still there, waiting. Campese. Baker. Now to O'Donnell. Into enemy territory, but it's the last tackle again. Campese, what can he do with the kick? decides not to, gives it to Wheeler. Wheeler is taken just outside the 30. Pretty hard tackle on him too. I think it might have been Crispy wrapped him up. It was indeed. He's knocked the wind out of himself as Crispin. He's in no hurry to get up and play it. Gives it back to Simbican at dummy half. Simbican to Aroha Tunavai. Takes it outside the 40. 11 remaining this game. Oh, I think we're almost going through the motions now. Simbican up towards halfway. So the Roos, they really can start to think about what do they do for the next week. I guarantee they'll be watching in numbers next weekend right here at Seaford Oval. The Blues will be back here playing next weekend. Aidan Woods with that run forward. Now it's Essex. He gives it to Nagier. Last tackle. Across to the right. High ball from Essex. Over to the corner. It swirls around on the breeze. Oh, dear. Gee, that's crisp. He's got a hat-trick this afternoon. Is there nothing this man cannot do? You hear people called a freak periodically. This afternoon, just 4 days after he picks up the Les McIntyre medal, he scored 2 already, and he does this. Jumps, flies, scores. He had no right to that ball. But don't tell a man like Brent Crisp that he has no right to a ball. Eyes only for it. Wheeler was in there. I'm not sure who was on the other side because he's obscured by the ground and by the goalpost rather, and funnily enough, by Brent Crisp. And try and tell me that he hasn't enjoyed that one. He scored 19 for the season in terms of tries. 7 goals this afternoon. Try and tell me someone else is man of the match today. I dare you. I double dare you to try and tell me someone else is man of the match. The frightening part is he's still got time to add more to the tally. That's only the 70th minute. Crispy with a hat-trick. Dare we say, Crispy, well done? Or is that going too far into the book of puns? In he comes. Low trajectory as he does on these short conversions. 8 from 8. 48 points to 18. We're back to the 30-point margin that we saw after the 25-minute mark. Well, I'm almost out of words, and now he's coming off. Now, you can't see this. I can. He's clutching at his hip, or maybe it's just a cramp because he's now doing the stretching thing. So maybe it's a very high cramp in the right leg. And there's a knock on there from Dumas. I'm just keeping an eye on Crisp. He's really putting some pressure in. It's almost I'm not sure whether it's at the top of the hamstring or the buttock that he's grabbing at, but he certainly looks in discomfort. I don't know whether we'll be able to speak to him afterwards now. Spent it before he had it there. Ball goes to ground. 8 minutes remaining. So that's the last we'll see from Crisp this afternoon. I'm not quite sure what Derry Campese's doing other than packing down on the back of the scrum. And I wouldn't even call it packing down on the back of the scrum, to be frank. Run around play. Goes from Campese to Rudiger. Campese goes from dummy half. Now it's McInnes. Get it to Kyle O'Donnell or Adam Misios. See if Misios can score a try. No, he gives it off to Campese. Run around play to Wheeler. Wheeler gets the ball back on the outside. Finds Stewart. I think the ball might have gone into touch. Has it gone into touch? No, he's got it back. A couple of players from the Blues had sort of given up on that one. Stevens. Now it's Cullen. Cullen, a little bit of a lift in the tackle from Simbican. No harm done. Campese. Now McInnes. Waiting there was Kyle O'Donnell. Hasn't had a try all season. Would have been a good one if he'd got it then. Now it's Nickel back on the inside. They gives it to Stevens. Stevens wrapped up, last tackle, handover in the shade of the grandstand here at Seaford Oval. 6.5 remaining. And really no urgency for this game to continue. I was watching some of the Little League World Series of baseball earlier this morning. There was a game called under a mercy rule there when one team got 10 runs in front with only an inning to go. They called it early. I know it's not the done thing in sport. I saw it in a rugby union international once when Japan were playing, I think Japan were playing New Zealand, and New Zealand had racked up about 130, and they blew full time with 10 minutes left on the clock, and nobody was terribly upset about it. I just wonder in a knockout final like this where there's really nothing, it's not a knockout final, it's just a final where there's now, 6 minutes remaining and 5 tries the difference. I don't think either side would really object. Anyway, kick downfield from Essex from the Kangaroos, taken by Fainafo right on the 20. Really, what are you playing for at this point in this game? You're playing for stats. You're playing for stats. I can't think of anything else. Rudiger, he's been busy today. So Nickel in at dummy half, goes to the right. We've got a whistle. So penalty, touch finder, Campese. I suppose they can try something different. Not quite sure what. Anyway, next week it'll be the Queanbeyan Kangaroos having the week off. The Queanbeyan Blues will be back here at Seaford Oval. They'll be up against either the Yass Magpies or the Tuggeranong Bushrangers. That knockout semi-final tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock, live on Bar TV. As Nagata gets the Blues within 10 metres of the line. Campese, long ball, right outside, comes back inside for Wheeler, who dives over and scores and reduces the margin back to 26 points, which is what it was at half-time. Too little, too late. Rather surprisingly, there have been 2 players score doubles for the Queanbeyan Blues this afternoon, and Jake Wheeler is one of them. Nickel, Campese, goes back outside and very quickly back inside to Wheeler. And, well, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos defence had followed the ball. I don't think you can really blame them for that. They've had such a massive cushion. And yet again, a conversion from well out wide, or a conversion attempt from well out wide for Terry Campese, as he puts it low and hard, but it gets between the posts this time. Not the best of afternoons for him. He's, 2 from 5. And what have we got? 3.5 minutes remaining, and as you can see there, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos are in no hurry to bring the ball back out. They will restart. You can't possibly waste the full 3 minutes, but they'll certainly take 30 seconds off the clock. And Nickel makes sure that he gets a hand on the ball on that restart. Gives it off to Kyle O'Donnell. O'Donnell up to the 20-metre line. And now it's with Stewart. Misios. Baker plays as a forward, built like a back. That's Campese. Gives it back around to Nagata. And now the Blues, they're up over the 30. They're making ground fairly easily, but I suspect the defensive intensity has really dropped from the Queanbeyan Kangaroos. Ball goes to ground. The Blues pick it up through Rudiger. And gets around, outside, inside, through Nazari, back to Fainafo, back to Nazari. Now it's Wheeler, goes to ground, kicked by Nickel. Who's going to get it? Nagata finds Baker. Baker, well, in the end it goes to ground. We had the chance for a particularly nice highlight at the end. John Kreuter from the Canberra Raiders standing right next to me here. John, 48-24. And I think in the end we can say that probably reflects better on the Blues than maybe they deserve.
Yeah, they've had their moments, but nowhere near consistent enough. The Roos obviously had that 30 minutes at the start of the match, which just set them up, but they've managed to maintain it. In the previous games between these two sides, it's been a game of two halves, but the Roos have been well in this. They haven't shown off at all.
Indeed. Not much else we can say. And how about Brent Crisp? What a week he's had. Picking up multiple awards at the McIntyre medal presentation, and now coming out today, scoring a hat-trick and 8 from 8. Thank you very much with the boot.
Yeah, he's played very well, but the big worry would be that after that last kick, he looked to have done his right hamstring. So a little bit of a nervous wait. We don't know if he's going to be up in Darwin or down here for the grand final anyway, but he's had a great performance today.
He has indeed. I'm not sure whether it's the hamstring or the buttock. He was right up at the hip is where he was grabbing himself, as we see the Blues trying to get one last try through Nagata, and he's held up over the stripe. We'll see if we can find Crispy and have a chat with him if he's available to have a chat with after the game. It might be a bit difficult to get hold of him, but John's gone down to see if he can find us someone to converse with in a moment. We're into the last 30 seconds of this match now, as Stein charges for the line and charges, and now he's back in the third play. I reckon, strictly speaking, he was held up over the line. Little turnaround play. Missios had it, passed it, ball goes to ground. 14 seconds, 13, 12 remaining. Ball has gone dead. Nobody will bother chasing anything further in this one. You can lock it in as 48 points to 24. I won't go as far as saying it's a massive upset in terms of the winning side. It is a massive upset in terms of the score. Although, again, coming into this game, while the Queanbeyan Blues had a massive points differential of plus 291, the Queanbeyan Kangaroos did come into the game with a massive points differential of plus 321. So they've certainly been the beneficiary of some big blowout scores during the course of the year. But that one may well be the most significant of all, as it puts them into the grand final. It gets them back into winning form. And now you do just scratch your head a little bit about this Queanbeyan Blues side. They've lost today 48-24 against a quality side. They lost last week against a Tuggeranong side that was desperate. Sure, there was plenty of regular first graders out from that Queanbeyan Blues side last week. But the week before, they went down to a quality West Belconnen side, the West Belconnen side that didn't make the finals but had some real momentum in the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. So questions are plenty to be asked over the next 8 days for the Queanbeyan Blues side. They'll be back in action here next week at Seaford Oval. Who will they play? Well, it'll be the Yass Magpies. Will it be the Tuggeranong Bushrangers? And how will they go? All will be revealed on Bar TV tomorrow afternoon. Just repeating the scorers here this afternoon. For the Queanbeyan Kangaroos, it was 3 tries to Brent Crisp. He added a lazy 8 goals from as many attempts. A double to Jedi Simbican to take his tally for the season to 17. Brian Cronin, Mitchell Connolly and Aaron Gorrell all scored tries as well this afternoon. For the losing side, a double to Jake Wheeler, a double to George Stewart, a try to Thomas Rudiger and Terry Campese. Well, an afternoon with the boot that he would probably rather not remember. 2 from 5, his final tally. Repeating that final score, it was 48 points to 24 in favour of the Queanbeyan Kangaroos here at Seaford Oval this afternoon.